Welcome to Module 2, Part 1. This week we're going to cover how to evaluate news sites. And in doing that, we will examine some issues related to authorship, accuracy in the news, and point of view and advocacy journalism. When we talk about authorship, the following things come to mind. Who is the website's author? Is it written collectively by a team or by staff? You are going to want to look for the author's biography, byline, and contact information. And sometimes you might not find the author's contact information, but more broadly the publication's contact information. Actually, I want to go back real quick to just in terms of addressing things with authorship. Some things to pay attention to is sometimes in a byline you might see a link to a Twitter account or a website for the author. Sometimes that's included in a particular byline or it's linked to under an author profile. In terms of attribution, you're going to want to look at the website. How does the website attribute content? Is the author easily identifiable, or is it written by a staff or a team? Does the website list the contributors so that you can easily find out about the authors? Does the byline explain why the author is an authority on the subject matter? And that's a little bit more important, not so much for reporters, but sometimes for opinion journalists or people who are branded more as analysts. And also, can you contact the author if necessary? If you have questions about the piece, if you want to notify them about a correction, something, maybe if you want to engage in dialogue with the author. And sometimes when something is incorrect, there's a discussion about it on social media, and the author and editors are alerted there. Sometimes a response to something that is incorrect will happen on social media first before it's posted as a comment under the article. And usually once something is corrected, a note is posted in the original article noting the correction. And that's very typical to do so that people know that in a previous version a certain item in the article was corrected. Next, we will address items to look for in evaluating who the publisher is. One indicator of the type of content that is promoted is like trying to find out some information about the owner of the website. For instance, the types of articles, coverage, and opinion pieces will vary depending upon who owns the media site. A corporate media site might not be as provocative as an independent media site. A lot of the independent media sites are more lax when it comes to following the AP style guide, editorializing within an article, and you know, just that sort of thing. Sometimes independent media sites tend to be more informal. You might even see curse words published. Another thing to look out for is ads versus sponsored posts. Sponsored content is a newer trend in online advertising. Essentially, it's messaging in the form of an article or infographic or even video that is closely integrated with the publisher's editorial content. A lot of different sites have sponsored content these days, but one example of one that has quite a bit is BuzzFeed. You also see sponsored content on the Huffington Post, and it's labeled as such. Now, the difference between sponsored content and ads is that ads are more traditional, but sometimes they can tell you a little bit about the publication as well. And some ads will appear in a publication based on your own web browsing history. And you can see related ads appear on a site that attempt to mirror the types of enterprise websites that you browse. Now, in terms of news sites, there are also a multitude of news sites on the internet. But one way of thinking about them is to break it down by region. So you might have local sites like patch.com, which provide community-specific news. You might also have local blogs that function like news sites, and that there's an editor and a handful of contributors who contribute and report on local issues. Regional sites tend to cover more than just a particular city. I can think more locally here at UC Irvine. The OC Weekly is an example of a regional news website because it covers Orange County, California. So that's kind of a regional site that you would see in the area at least where this university is located. And for national sites, you would think of news sites like The Atlantic, USA Today, The New York Times, those kind of sites that are more national in scope. The other thing you want to keep in mind when you're evaluating news sites is accuracy. Is the content accurate? Does it look timely? Are sources cited? And a lot of times authors will link to the source material within an article, so you'll see a hyperlink, and when you click on it, it will take you to that source. You also want to be able to distinguish between opinion and reports. Does the piece appear to be fact-checked? Do other writers link to the website? Can you see the dates and times when an item was published? The times and dates should be clear because people who might cite that article will want to refer back to it. One thing to keep in mind is that there are some media criticism websites that will do some sort of fact-checking and analysis for you. One site that tends to be a bit more progressive is fair.org, which stands for Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. It's a media watchdog association that publishes a print magazine and blogs on its website that provide analysis of the corporate media. So you guys might want to check that out. It's fair.org. In terms of point of view, who does the author represent? Are there sites affiliated with issue organizations or groups that have particular agendas? And you're also going to want to look at the advertising on the site. If it's a nonprofit website, look to see who is on the board of directors for whichever organization it represents. You can also get a sense of what a website or author is representing by Googling him or her to find out what their position is on a certain issue or what others have said about the author or the publication. Some things to look for in opinion journalism include the sources cited, and you also need to consider how credible are those sources. So if they are going to sources that are considered respectable, or if they are sort of quoting no-name people, people that aren't recognized as authorities in whatever field, you might want to keep an eye out for that.